Hello everybody, Kieran here for Speaking Spurs, talking all things Tottenham, and back at you with the daily videos. First of all, I do need to apologise because you didn't get a video yesterday, which was Sunday. The reason for that purely is because this week our football manager actually quit, or he's going to take some time off. So I took control of the team on Wednesday, ran training, and then me and a couple of the other guys were going to run it for Sunday, but they weren't available, which meant I had to run the thing for myself whilst playing the game as well. On top of that, one of our friends who used to be the former captain of our club, he came back from Ecuador. One of my old friends, Jason from school, love him to bits, great guy. He's back for 90 days, so he's playing with us for a bit, and it's great to see him. We just ended up having a really long catch-up at the end of the game. And then I had work at 3:30, which is why a video wasn't done, because by the time I got back, it was too late to do a video. So apologies for that. If this is your first time watching the channel, we do daily updates on here now, and that started as of last week. So we'll jump into it. First of all, the subscriber count is going up, so the daily videos are definitely a thing that you want. So thanks for supporting that. Don't forget to like and comment, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. So let's jump into it and talk about a few things. There's some real good positives today that can affect us in a very good financial way in the future. So we'll start with one of them and we'll finish with the other. So obviously we hosted our NFL game. Some of you may have seen the jets flying over Sky, depending on where you were in the country, around London and the surrounding areas. So in Essex, we actually managed to see the jets going over. So the NFL game, it was the New York Jets versus the Atlanta Falcons. And it's great for a few reasons. It's not just good for Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, we get money through the deal that we've got set up with the NFL for the next 10 years. So there's money coming in from them hiring the stadium. There's obviously gate receipts that come in with that. There's a proportion of the merchandise that's sold. There will be a percentage that goes towards us. On top of that, all the drinks and food sales within the ground. Then on top of that, you've also got the surrounding areas. So it's great for local businesses within the Tottenham community. So you've got all the local restaurants, the pubs, the hotels, news agents, all things like that, the trains. There's lots of money being pumped back into the economy after what has been a torrid time because of COVID. So although these NFL games aren't constant, but all the entertainment that's going on throughout the year at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is something that pumps money back into the local community via people like you and me popping into those shops, restaurants, hotels, yada, yada, yada. So that's a great thing financially for the club and the surrounding area, which is only a positive and should help bring the community together a little bit more. Now moving on to a potential transfer outgoing for us. So we know that Sergio Reguilon, he obviously came in from Real Madrid. Now, they had an option to buy back, but it was to be for a higher fee than they paid for him. So about 40 million euros would be their buyback clause, okay? Now, they've been monitoring the situation. He hasn't developed in the way that they thought he would in London. He actually started pretty well, to be fair. And then he had an injury. He's taken a dip in form. He's come back and been fairly inconsistent. He's definitely not been at the heights he was at during his first season. I know he was a bit shaky in the first couple of games, but we saw some great things from him in terms of his attacking prowess, his crossing ability. Defensively, he can be a bit shaky at times, but, you know, he's a modern-day fullback where they kind of attack first, defend second. So we can forgive that a little bit. But I just feel like on the attacking front and the defensive, he's let us down a little bit recently, and it's probably just an after effect of the mood in camp at Tottenham, because we've seen as a squad, we've not been performing anywhere near where we should with the players that we've got within the squad. And he's young as well, so you've got to expect if the more experienced heads aren't performing to the levels that we want them to, the chances are that's going to filter down into the youngsters. So, Real Madrid are looking at the possibility of bringing him back. Originally, there was to be no chance of that. So Reguilon essentially came over after a couple of successful loan spells in La Liga. He'd done well over there. Real Madrid had no interest in him moving forward, or shall we say Zinedine Zidane. Like Reguilon has previously spoken about it, saying he never had any conversations with the manager, he just didn't want him, and therefore he was gone. So to leave Real Madrid was never really something that Reguilon wanted to do, but he felt like he had to do. Now, Real Madrid are looking at the possibility of bringing him back now. However, they don't want to pay that fee. And it's only another year, I think they have the option on the buyback, but they don't want to buy him back for the fee that was suggested and written into the deal. They're looking to probably drop that a lot lower. They want to knock, I think it's like 5 to somewhere between 5 and 9 million euros they want to knock off it. And I can completely understand why. The financial market is a bit messed up because of COVID, and a lot of the Spanish teams are really struggling. For me, I don't really know where I stand on this one. You're going to have to let me know in the comments where you see this one going. Obviously, Reguilon has the potential to be a fantastic fullback. However, we have Ryan Sessegnon, who obviously hasn't featured much at all, mainly because Mourinho wanted him to go out on loan and gain some experience. We've all felt like he's a great talent. When he was at Fulham, we definitely saw the best of him within the Championship, and he showed glimpses of what he can do in the Premier League with them. Came to us, he's not had the easiest times, in and out of the side to start with. He obviously went on loan and had what was an okay start, but grew into his loan spell. Now, Reguilon remaining at the club blocks Sessegnon's path as a fullback, or wing-back, if you will. And then on top of that, so long as Sonny is at the club, Sessegnon has no chance of playing further forward on that left wing. His only chances will come in cup competitions and things like the Europa Conference League or Europa League, if we make it into that. But if we were to hit the Champions League again, then Sonny would take precedence there. So Sessegnon's path is kind of blocked no matter which way you look at it. So my question to you guys is, do you think it's right to just take a small profit on Reguilon now and allow Sessegnon, once fully fit again, to start making his way back into the squad and alternating with Ben Davies instead of Reguilon and Ben Davies? Let me know. I'm really torn on this one because I know there's a lot of potential within Sessegnon and I really want to see him do well. But it's a really tough one. It's just balanced on the knife edge for me. So comment below what you think. Paratici has been speaking in Italy this week about a lot of things, previous transfer deals that could have happened when he was at Juventus and things like that. There's been some really interesting things come out over there, and it obviously had to talk about Tottenham as well. There's a few disappointing things that have come out of that. So we've been linked with pretty much every single player that's been at Juventus or linked with Juventus because of Paratici's connections with Juventus. We've also heavily linked with Dusan Vlahovic, which we've reported on many times over the summer, been reported on in the last week as well. And I don't know if it's just mind games at this stage, but Paratici has basically come out and said the links to Skriniar is a no-go, links to Brozovic, even though he'll be a free agent soon, is a no-go, and he's also rained down on the Dusan Vlahovic deal, saying that he's not someone that we're actually looking at the moment. Now, there is a possibility that he's being honest and we're not looking at Dusan Vlahovic, and there will be many, many clubs looking at him. And maybe he knows that, which is why we're not looking at him, because of the war there's going to end up being financially. We're going to get outbid. We're not playing Champions League football, so the next step up for him is to be at a club where they're performing at the highest level consistently. So for us to get him in anyway is going to be difficult. But on the flip side of that, is Paratici just saying that we're not looking at him to stop us from having to pay an overinflated fee? The more interest you show in a player publicly, the more the club are like, well, they really want them, so let's just bump this up another 5 million because they've said they want them. Essentially, you want to start at the lowest point possible. You want to undercut the fee that they're going to want by a lot. Then they'll raise it, and then you barter until you meet somewhere in the middle, which is the price that you're actually willing to pay. So you go out in public to say you want a player, and you're interested in a player, boom, your starting point has already shot way up from where you wanted to because you've shown your cards early. So there is that possibility. I don't know. We don't know Paratici well enough to know if he plays mind games like this. We shall see in the future. Now, moving on to the next one. It's another comment from Paratici, and this one is about Harry Kane. And it's quite interesting. It's to do with the fact that obviously Harry was linked with Manchester City heavily in the summer. He was linked with teams abroad, and we knew he wasn't going to go abroad from the Gary Neville interview that he did, where he basically said at this stage of his career he doesn't want to move abroad. So we knew he was always going to want to stay in the Premier League. We knew Daniel Levy wasn't going to allow him to go to someone like Manchester City that completely block our path anyway. knowing that we'd also have to face Harry Kane, and likelihood is if we face him, he'd get at least a brace against us. This just what happens with this sort of transfer. So Paratici, they said they made the decision that Kane was staying, and by the sounds of it, he's saying that Kane has accepted it. Kane is happy, and he doesn't see Harry Kane leaving anytime in the near future. So Harry Kane obviously come out when it was all decided he was staying at Spurs. He put that tweet out saying that, tweet or Instagram post, one of the two, I think it might have even been both, saying that he will be staying at Spurs this summer. Now, a lot of people read into that saying, oh, does he mean that he's going next summer? Is he going in January? It just created a snowball effect in people's minds. Like, he's only said this summer, this means he's leaving, he's not happy, he's just going to stay for now. Like, Paratici's basically come out and said, look, he's happy at Spurs. We know he loves Spurs. He said that he loves Spurs. Paratici has said that he loves Spurs. And my opinion is he's never wanted to leave Tottenham, right? His hand has kind of been forced because we were on this upward trajectory and then just went, right? And all that progress we made, we've gone backwards. Great players have been sold. People have moved on because of their age and things like that. And we just took a massive backward step. So from his perspective and career, where he wants to win trophies, to match the calibre of player he is, going out the door was the only way. Right, it didn't happen, but he's always maintained that he loves Spurs. And I don't doubt that for a second. But Paratici's basically saying he thinks Kane is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. They've promised investment in the squad and they're going to continue to build to get us back to where we need to be. I'd say where we should be, but others would argue we shouldn't be because we weren't one of the teams up there. We've only, over the recent years been up there. So do we have the right yet to say that we belong up there? I'm not so sure, but I can say that's where we need to be. We need to be back to those levels. We need to be in the Champions League to attract these players, to play against the best teams in the world, have the most glamorous football that we can, because that's what we want. So part of that is to keep someone like Harry Kane, and whilst his future's in doubt, it just messes things up. But they're saying there's going to be rebuilds, there's going to be Kane staying for the foreseeable future. So that's great news for us. It settles us fans a little bit. It probably, Kane's probably been talking a lot over the last month or so with his family, with the club to sort things out. And that's the conclusion they've come to. So it'll probably put his mind at ease a lot more now, and he can come back, relax, and just start enjoying his football. And I think that's when we're going to start seeing the best of him. Whilst it's all up in the air, he's only human. On the pitch, yes, he's got an elite mentality. He's proven everybody wrong over the one season wonder. He's still managed to finish high up on the scoring charts, even when he's missed 9-10 games in a season through injury. Look, he's an incredible, incredible guy. But mentality can be broken when your future is up in the air and in doubt. So I completely get the dip in form. I'm not going to overly criticise him for it because I understand the human side of things. Moving on to the next story, and this one's about international football, but more importantly about the progression of one of our players, and that man is Giovanni Lo Celso. Now, if any of you saw the game against Uruguay, he was another level. International football, he really has found his calling. He's becoming so important for Argentina, putting in big performances. He did really well in the Copa America in that midfield for Argentina. Hasn't managed to bring the form back over to us, but if he can continue on this trajectory whilst playing with Argentina, it can only build his confidence, and at some point that has got to follow on into Spurs. And I feel like hopefully when he comes back from the international break, he'll be so reinvigorated from the plaudits that he's got whilst he's there, he'll step up. So, I mean, he's only 25 still, and I am frustrated with Lo Celso because he has so much potential. Another one like Ndombele, completely different types of player, but they both have bags of potential, and I just want them to unleash it in a Spurs shirt. So, yeah, the game against Uruguay, he was playing on the right of a three in midfield where they played a 4-2-3-1. In that game, he managed 2 assists. He also made 6 key passes, completed all 3 of his attempted dribbles, and he won 4 of his 6 duels and had 6 recoveries. Now, they're decent stats, right? The stats don't lie. It's not just that. His all-round intelligence in that game, the awareness, the way he played, his heart was on his sleeve. I want that to transpire into games for us, as you all will. He's our player. We bought him for a reason. He's a fantastic talent. We need him to portray that. But just to let you in on something, in Argentina, he tends to have more of a consistent role within the team. Now at Spurs, once you look at positions played, you can see why there's so many inconsistencies. Not to mention, it's not always been him. He hasn't always been on from the start. He's been in and out the side, so there's no consistency there. But in the 8 games that he's played for Spurs this season, he has played 5 different roles. 5 in 8. So you can't build the kind of relationships with players around you want. Your positional awareness and gameplay has to change within each role. So it makes it very, very hard to be consistent. And I know what it's like. My first season for the club I'm at now, I played every position but goalkeeper in that first season. I was just moving around the side, essentially being a James Milner, having to play wherever I needed to play on those particular games to cover injuries or sturdy us up in certain areas depending on the opposition we come up against. And every single time it was different. I think one game I was playing left wing back, and then later in the game I got moved over to right wing back. And I had an absolute shocker once I made it over to the right. But I'd had a really good game over on the left. And the problem is, mentally, everything I'd been doing, I then had to do the opposite. So it was the same job role, but on the other side of the pitch. So everything was back to front. I'd been jockeying back, pushing people down the wing. So I'd been dropping my left shoulder. All of a sudden, I had to drop on my right shoulder. If I wanted to take the ball round someone on the outside, I'm now on my right foot instead of my left foot. So these things completely affect players, even at a professional level. Your mindset is ready for one thing, and you're being asked to do something else. So, yes, I kind of forgive Celso a little bit, but I do think, yes, we need to see more from him. And I think mentally, again, it's one of those things where the mental aspect of the game is so key right now. And I feel like sport psychologists are so important to the game. So important. Tiger Woods, top golfing professional, always had a sports psychologist over the years to help him mentally. Wayne Rooney, in the end, I think he ended up seeing a sports psychologist just because he needed to. You could see there was that immaturity there, that nervousness and anxiety. And then all of a sudden, bang, you see him in the tunnel of the game, switched on, not looking at anyone, not talking to anyone, just focused. You can see in his career the change when he started having sports psychology in his career. So I feel like that's important these days, especially for the younger players. So that's those stories. The last one I'm going to wrap up on is about having a feeder club. Right, you would have seen it many times. Those of you that have played football manager games and things like that, where you have these clubs that you feed and trade players with. So Tottenham are wanting to do this with a Belgian club. The club we're currently looking at is Standard Liege. Now, they're one of the top 3 teams in Belgium. They're not doing so great in the league at the moment. I think they're sitting in 10th or something like that, but not a problem. Position of the club doesn't really mean much. They're a big club. So ENIC, not Tottenham, ENIC Sports and Development are looking to basically buy Standard Liege. So this is a great move for a few reasons. And this is where it's quite funny because there's a lot of fans actually moaning about it, saying, well, if they've got money to buy a club, then why aren't they pumping more money into us? Yes, completely understand. They should be pumping more money into us and helping out. However, Standard Liège makes money. They play European football, so that's even more money. They have an academy. They also have a position in a league that would help develop our players, right? So by that, what I mean is we would send players out on loan to them. Players like Troy Parrott, Scarlett, Harvey White, all these players that are potentially the future of our club. So not only will they be going on loan to another club to gain experience, they're going on loan to a club playing European football. Whereas at the moment they're having to go to League One, the Championship, which is great. If they're getting first team football, they're playing tough English football week in, week out. However, European football is somewhere we want to be, somewhere we need to be, and for them to get that experience, they need to be playing European football. This is the perfect way to do it. So for that sense, with player development, fantastic. Also, probably the reason they're looking at the Belgian league is a little bit of common sense, and you look at the world rankings where Belgium sit in top. It only makes sense, doesn't it? You pick a Belgian team. Belgium are obviously developing great talent at the moment. So why not have players from Belgium in your back pocket. We would get first option on all their talent coming through the academy. Players in their first team, we would have first look at all of those. So from that sense, you've got the option to be plucking players from a nation that has really, really stepped up on the international stage over the last 5-10 years. And then on top of that, the better Standard Liege do, and if we're putting our players in there, they help them to a new level. The higher they finish, the more money they get. The further they go in cup competitions, the more money they get. The more appearances they have in Europe, the more money they get. Which means ENIC get more money to then splash between both clubs. So it is a win-win. There are negatives in the fact that you can say we want more money ploughed into us. But if this works and they are to get a Belgian club, it may not be Standard Liège that they end up getting, but it works really well for both parties. And I know a lot of you out there have been Mickey taking, saying, oh, good luck, that's the end of Europe for you and yada, yada, yada. But look, trust me on this one, it is potentially a fantastic deal for both clubs. So that's the positive that I want to end on. Thanks for sticking around. Apologies for not getting the video out yesterday. It is quite difficult to do one every day when you think about it. My weekends, especially Sundays, are so busy. I have like a 1.5 hour window where I have some free time on a Sunday to maybe do a video. I will try my hardest to get it every day, but you'll certainly get Monday to Saturday. I will guarantee you those days. Sunday, we'll put that down as a maybe. But thanks for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed that one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Share it amongst your friends. Like and comment below. Get the conversation going. Enjoy yourselves, guys. Take care. And until tomorrow, come on, you Spurs.